Many of us have been hearing about Israel and Gaza being at it for a very long time. Some may even say that this war is very biblical because now we have had missiles being launched from Gaza to now Israel, and now Israel has had to retaliate, causing a very big war between Israel and Palestine. Now, in today's video, I'm going to discuss everything concerning humanitarian law or international humanitarian law, what laws govern Israel and Gaza's war, and also, most importantly, where is this war going to head? Because many people are now saying that we are on the brink of having World War III. So, on this edition of Legal News Daily, let us go and discuss everything concerning Gaza and Israel war, and most importantly, what laws govern the wars and all of that. So, let's go. Welcome everyone to Legal News Daily. My name is Kahuma, the usual host on Legal News Daily, and I'm thrilled to have you back again. Let's get straight to the point. For the past 1.5 weeks, we have been seeing Gaza provoking Israel to then go into a war. Now, Palestine and Israel have been at it for a very long time, and these two countries are on and off in terms of war. But now in the recent times, especially this year in October, Gaza attacked with a missile and Israel returned the same back. Now the two people are now at war, causing a lot of havoc, causing a lot of loss of lives, damaged property, and now we're having almost World War III breaking out because we still have Ukraine and Russia going to war. Now, I'm here to discuss what the legal side talks about it. Let's start with number one. There have been so many times when I've talked about what laws govern wars in the world in general. Now we have what are called conventions. We have the Geneva Convention, we have the United Nations Charter on different charters. We have on human rights, we have on war and crime. Now, in this particular video, I'm going to discuss the laws which are relevant to this particular aspect of Israel and Gaza. We have international humanitarian law, which has the Geneva Convention and the United Nations Charter. In specific, we're going to look at two aspects. We're going to look at attack on civilians and also going to look at self-defense. Now, I'll start with attack on civilians. It is stated under the Geneva Convention that any two countries which are going to war must be able to not involve civilians. So it means that if Kenya and Uganda ever go to war, I'm not saying that they're ever going to go to war. If Kenya and Uganda ever go to war, it is stated under international humanitarian law under principle that these two countries should try their best to go to war, but then preserve the lives of civilians, because civilians are global civilians. So in these two countries, international humanitarian law comes in to protect these civilians of these two countries. Now, the first attack that Gaza sent to Israel, it then killed so many Israeli people, because these people, I watched so many videos on BBC, on CNN, and I saw so many people. The first Israelis to be attacked were at a party, they went for a retreat, and some of these Israelis, in quotes, also had nationals of different countries. They had Germans, they had British people, they had Italians. So not only did Jewish people from Israel die, but also citizens of other different countries that also died. So this is now also becoming a very global war. And then we're now seeing that most countries are now standing with Israel, because Israel was the first one to be attacked by Palestine. So we have attack on civilians being something very integral in this particular international humanitarian law. So just for purposes of clarity, I want to state that the particular conventions I'm talking about is the Geneva Convention of 1949, because that's when it was founded, and then also the 1977 UN protocols. So these particular laws are the ones which enhance on international humanitarian law. How do they apply to the Israeli-Gaza war? It's basically stating that if Gaza was sending a missile to Israel, then they should have taken due care not to involve the civilians of Israel. But of course, we all know that Palestine has always had a lot of grievances with Israel, and their main intention was to lead to loss of lives. Now, when it comes to this particular aspect of preservation of lives of civilians of a country you're going to war with, international humanitarian law states that you must preserve the lives of these civilians, and most importantly, you must make sure that loss of life is minimized under international war law, and you must also ensure that these people, all the civilians of this country that you have attacked, you must make sure that their property is indeed intact, loss of lives like I've already said, and most importantly, you must make sure that you must not abduct these people. Now, abducting means kidnapping, but in the recent videos that we have been seeing all over social media and the facts that are on ground, the moment these Palestinian warlords sent missiles to Israel, then they even went ahead and started going and abducting Israeli citizens, Israelis, Germans, Italians. We saw so many people who were testifying on BBC and CNN stating that I'm an Italian citizen, I sent my daughter to Israel maybe to do this, or she went on work. Now she was abducted, thinking that she was also a Jew from Israel. So when it comes to the Geneva Convention, the lives of the civilians of the country that you're attacking should be able to be preserved. That also goes to Russia and Ukraine, because so many times we have seen Ukrainians being abducted or Russians being abducted, but in this case of Israel and Gaza, the Palestinians have been taking people from Israel and abducting them. So let us go to the aspect of self-defense, and then we'll wrap up on this video. Now let's go to self-defense, which is the second aspect of this Israeli-Gaza war. Now we find that self-defense is something which is clearly stated. Well, it comes from even the basic instinct of human nature. If you're ever attacked by someone, you're walking on the street from whatever country you're coming from, and you're ever attacked by someone, naturally your body is going to want to fight or flight, and that means that your body is going to want to defend itself. Now in this war of Israel and Gaza, Gaza was the first one to provoke Israel. That's why every Western country or every country all over the world is standing with Israel, because Israel was being there peaceful, and then Gaza attacked it with missiles. So what laws govern self-defense all over the world in terms of international humanitarian law? We have Article 51 of the UN Charter, which grants Israel, in this case, the right to fight back in terms of self-defense. Why? Because when you look at the clear terms, Gaza was the one to first send a missile or several missiles to Israel's capital. So Article 51 of the UN Charter, in paraphrasing, states that if ever an armed attack occurs on any country, then they are mandated under Article 51 of the UN Charter to be able to fight back. So in other words, Israel is actually not at fault in terms of this war, because Gaza was the one that attacked Israel first, and they are just retaliating. However, there is something to note in terms of self-defense. Just because someone has attacked you, let's say with fists, it doesn't mean that you have the right to get a gun and shoot them. You can only do that if the country that attacked you used excessive force to attack you, and then there you're also mandated to also use excessive force to return to them the same. In other words, this means that if Gaza attacked Israel with, let's say, 3 missiles, Israel will not be at fault to attack Gaza with 4 or 5 missiles, because it's almost in the same magnitude. However, it would be wrong for Israel to now use missiles, Air Force, Marine, to use 100% of their effort, and yet Gaza used, let's say, 40% of their military might. So this basically means that even if Article 51 of the UN Charter grants Israel the right to defend itself under self-defense, it does not mean that Israel should use excessive force to attack Gaza. However, that may be, of course, the natural picture that Israel gets, especially from Gaza, being able to attack it so many times. So that is the second aspect of this video. The first one we looked at was preservation of the lives of civilians. Number two, we looked at self-defense under the UN Charter and also under the Geneva Convention. So all of these are under the umbrella of international humanitarian law. So let's go to the final aspect, and then we can see where the war is going to go concerning Israel and Gaza. Now, the final part is that where do the courts of law come in? We already looked at the aspects of international humanitarian law. Let's look at where the International Crimes Court comes in. Now, the International Criminal Court, which is the ICC, it's the biggest court all over the world. This is the one which punishes countries. This is the one which punishes international warlords. It's the one which even punishes, for those of us who know, it's the one that punishes Joseph Kony. Now, any entity, whether you're a human being, whether you're an international organization, whether you're a country, anyone or any entity or company which carries out international crimes is answerable to the ICC. Now, the ICC, like I said, is the biggest international criminal court all over the world. Let's look at why it applies here. The fact that Gaza attacked Israel, then that means that these two countries, the fact that they are at war, they are meant to now go to the ICC the moment the war starts. So they can be summoned by the ICC when the war has started, during the war, and also after the war has occurred. Now, the ICC handles not only countries, but also handles, like I said, different individuals who have led to different international war crimes, such as Adolf Hitler in the past, such as Idi Amin Dada, such as Gen Bokassa, such as, the different leaders who have brought a lot of death, who have left a lot of death all over the world. Now, International Criminal Court also handles things like genocides, it handles wars. So I think you're now getting the picture. It handles anything criminal related, especially on a large scale. Now, Gaza and Israel war is definitely on a large scale. Now, it's important to note that Israel is not a member of the ICC. They have not signed and ratified to be able to subscribe to the International Criminal Court. However, Palestine, where Gaza is a member of the ICC. Now, this means that Palestine, being the one that attacked Israel first, it means that it is now answerable to the ICC. So any crime or any war happening that happens in Palestine, it means that they are answerable to the ICC, meaning the ICC can then take on their case, meaning the ICC can actually incriminate them, can incriminate their president, can incriminate their warlords, can incriminate even the people who went and abducted Israeli nationals. So that means that they can issue out a warrant to summon Palestine to the ICC to be answerable for their crimes against humanity. Now, that was just it. I wanted to explain to you all the aspects concerning this Israeli and Gaza war. It's very sad that countries can never rest, in that they want to continue attacking each other back and forth. Sometimes war is brought about in terms of greed, in terms of love for money, in terms of dissatisfaction, and just pure hatred, which causes things like genocide or different wars all over the world. I would like to stand with Israel, because even if I'm a lawyer, still Israel was the one that was attacked. And yes, even if Israel has the right to defend itself, still this war was started by Palestine. So I would like to stand with Israel. It's a very trying moment for them. They still have a right to defend themselves. Let us see where the war goes, but I hope it doesn't stretch like the same way the war of Russia and Ukraine has stretched. I remain yours truly, Counsel Terry Kahuma, and I remain the usual host on Legal News Daily, which is on Simply Legal. Until next time, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, importantly, share this video so that we can all stand with Israel in this trying time. Until next time, let's see where the war goes. I remain yours truly, Terry Kahuma, and bye.